भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So last time we saw the meaning of Om and how it represents in that word the entire meaning of what is Ishvara is explained. Okay. Now,
can we have a recap? And I had my doubts for more. So can we have a recap for
yeah, yeah. So in fact, I will do the next verse and in that I will recap. So here he says.
Which?
Now we are on
11.
Yeah, 11 we have chapter 8, chapter 8 verse 13. 11 we did last time and 13 we will do today.
Okay.
Okay. So, Om Vidyekaksharam Brahma Yaharan Namanusmaran Yav Prayati Tvajan Deham Sayati Paramam Gatim. So here he says that Yav Prayati Tvajan Deham, while somehow giving up the body, if the person has what? Om, Smaran, thinking about Om, then that person gets Paramam Gati. Okay? So now this is generally taken very literally as to when you're leaving the body, you have to keep chanting Om or you have to listen to something. Here it's not really that, because chanting you can chant and it is good that you chant at the last moment of your life. But here it means that you go with the understanding of what? Om is everywhere. Okay? So that is something which is, if this is your awareness, that Ishvara's presence is in and through everything, then that you are leaving the body with what? Proper understanding of who you are and what your relationship with Ishvara is. Okay? So that means, what is Ishvara? Okay? Om. Om, what does it stand for? As I said, it has 3 letters: Akara, Ukara and Makara. Okay? Akara represents, when we say Ishvara is everything, what does everything mean? We need to deconstruct this word, otherwise what is everything we don't know. Okay? So therefore, it starts by Akara being the entire physical world, this physical universe. So what is physical universe? Physical universe means that anything that you can tangible, everything that is tangible to you. Okay? Tangible means something which is available to your eyes. Okay? But sometimes the stars which are very far away, they have a physical existence, but they are not available to your eyes. So they are included in which universe? Subtle or physical?
No, still physical. We can see them.
Yeah? Absolutely. Because if you use telescope, you can see them. They may not be within your immediate perception, okay? But you still can see them because they have a physical existence. Okay? And with this telescope you can see them. So that means anything which has a physical existence, which is either known to me or not known to me. Because there are so many objects, physical objects in the universe that I may not ever know. Okay? So even that is included in Ishvara. Physical objects which are known to me and unknown to me in the past, in the present and in the future. Okay? So now, how do I know? Okay, that is first thing. Okay? Ishvara is not only everything which is physical, it is Ukara. Ukara stands for subtle. Okay? Now the minute you say subtle, people's imaginations run wild. Then they think that you're talking about all these energies, you're talking about auras, you're talking about spirits. You know, this is how we start imagining things. Okay? And we start thinking that spiritual world is all about all those subtle things which are not otherwise available to our physical eyes. Okay? Here Vedas and Gita are far more safe. They don't enter into all these auras. There is not one verse in Gita which talks about your aura or which talks about your energies and some energies that you have to connect with. For them, the meaning of subtle is something very, very simple. Okay? What is subtle? As I explained last time, there is one thing which is your physical eye. The second thing which is subtle, what is that subtle thing? The capacity of your eyes to see. That is what we call drishti. Okay? So this is included in the subtle universe. Okay? There is something which is your physical ear, and then there is capacity of your ears to hear or not to hear. So that is what we call subtle, because by looking at your physical ear, I don't know whether, what is your capacity, right? I don't know. Okay? This is why you call it subtle. So there is no imagination here. Okay? This is all just something that you cannot see, but it is very much there, is what we call subtle. In subtle universe also includes, right, the capacity of your not only sense organs, but organs of action. Okay? Why? Because you can have physical hand, but whether the hand moves or not, you even can't tell by just looking at your physical. When somebody is a paralytical attack, what you do, the physical thing is intact, there is no injury or anything, but what? It loses its capacity to move. So that is subtle. Okay? So that is capacity of your sense organs, capacity of your organs of action. 5 prana. What is a prana? The whole prana. When do you declare the body as alive and when it is not alive? Breathing. Exactly. The prana goes. Okay? So that means that is also subtle, because in the inhaling and exhaling, that as long as the prana is there, life force is there, you are able to what? Take the air which is outside and convert it into what? The living, the energy which is able to keep the body alive. So even when you go away, the nose is very much there. The physical nose doesn't disappear. Okay? But the capacity to convert an external air is always there. Okay? But the capacity of external air to what? Take for inhaling and then running the whole mechanism is gone. So this is why Pancha Prana are also subtle. Okay? What the Pancha Prana are: inhaling, exhaling, okay? Digestive system, circulatory system, and exhalation. Okay? So these are what we call Pancha Prana. That is what which keeps the whole physical body alive. Okay? So the subtle is capacity of your sense organs, capacity of your organs of action, capacity of your this for respiratory and digestive and circulatory function, and finally the subtle includes the mind. Okay? Because you don't see, I can't see what you are thinking, only you know what you are thinking, right? So as far as I am concerned, it's subtle. Okay? So that means the entire subtle universe is also what? Manifestation of Ishvara. Okay? So that means your subtle, my subtle, her subtle, we all follow what? A certain range, which is a human range. But within the human range, there is what? Difference. And that is due to what? Did we sit and create all these subtle capacities? We did not. We came in this world with everything ready-made for us to use, right? So that intelligence which is designed this highly complex and very, very intelligent system is what we call Ishvara. Okay? So that is subtle. Then what is Makara? Okay? The Makara is what we say the physical and subtle. When I look at the universe, your physical and subtle is different from mine. So what and why? And hers is different from mine. Why? Okay. Eyes have same things, it's the same program, but even though it is the same basic program, what accounts for individual differences?
It's nature and nurture.
So this is what it says causal. causal means that your causes are different from my causes. Okay? And my causes are different from your causes. Okay? So that means that causes, it can include everything. If you are a scientist, it can include what? Genetic coding, DNAs, right? These are all the causes which are running for how long? Generations, right? Who is doing the whole link of generations? There is a generation skip. Have we created? No. It's an amazing design. The same intelligence which gives rise to your physical body and your subtle body, okay, is connecting your present body to what? So many past causes. If you look at it in terms of science, then it is what? All these genetic links, DNA, cells, all these different things for generations and generations and generations. Okay? If you look at biological model, then what? Your evolution. Exactly. So right, as Surya was talking about what this first there was unicellular organisms, and then they became multicellular, and how then dinosaurs, then the mammals could survive because dinosaurs became extinct. So that means there are causes within causes within causes within causes in the biological link. Okay? So therefore, any way that you look, okay, there are so many past causes starting. Where can you say is the beginning of this cause? Along with creation comes all these causes. Okay? So this is why. So your presence today is connected to series of causes, what, starting from the beginning of the universe. So that is what we call Makara. So it's not like you just drop out of nowhere, because this is an existential question. People ask this question, why did I come on this earth at this given point in time, and why is it that after some 100 years or 80 years or 60, whatever time that we have, all of a sudden we will disappear. Okay? So that means your presence at this time is connected to series of causes, and your disappearance is also connected to series of causes. And series of causes also then, what we say, include, these are the causes which are known to us. Okay? The medical, biological, physical causes, all this is something which is known to us. When you talk about Ishvara, Makara, you talk about what? In addition to all these causes which are there, which is manifestation of Ishvara, you also talk about what? The causes which are what? Karmic causes. Okay? Your actions and what? The corresponding result that you have to go through. Okay? So that means these causes include series of, just as every law, you cannot say has a beginning which is what, 50 or 100 years, it starts with creation. Okay? With reference to whatever you have done in life, if you construe that after this physical body is gone, the cause and effect relationship will stop to exist, is it reasonable? In no case, the laws of cause and effect, they don't stop. In every given way, they continue. So this is why the laws of cause and effect, that means the unseen result of your own actions, will give you what? Different bodies. Because you have to experience the result of your own actions. Without a body and mind, you cannot experience the result of actions. Okay? So therefore, it also includes all these different causes. Causes within causes within causes. This is what we call Makara. Okay? So, Ishvara, which is, what is Ishvara then? Ishvara is Sarvajnaha Sarvashakti. This is the definition of Ishvara. Sarvajnaha means all knowledge, okay, and Sarva Shaktiman means which has the capacity to manifest in form of this universe. So therefore, if you look at this body is what? There is knowledge within knowledge within knowledge. Every part exhibits knowledge, which is not your knowledge or my knowledge. When we go to medical school, we just try to discover how it is put together. That knowledge is already there, which is put it together. So that knowledge is what we call Ishvara, which is there right now. Okay? If you look at my subtle body and how the neurons work, and how these neurons are connected to all these electric connections and chemical connections and all that, this is who there is knowledge involved. It's not something which is just random. Okay? So that knowledge which then gives me the capacity to think, there is one very fundamental knowledge, and that is what we call Ishvara. Okay? What is going to be tomorrow? What is going to be 10 years from now? What is going to be 15 years from now is unmanifest right now, as far as I am concerned. Okay? But which cause and effect link is going to produce that 5 years, what is going to come 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is again the intelligence. So that way you see anything that you see in this universe is nothing actually but knowledge. Everything. You look at the bird's eyes, knowledge. Bird's digestive system, knowledge. Reptiles, without legs, they can move. What engineering? Knowledge. So many different forms. Each one acting intelligently. It's all knowledge. So that knowledge that you and me have not created all this, that knowledge is something which is everywhere. The knowledge which places earth with reference to sun. Precise distance. Knowledge.
It's only we need to unfold. Or rather,
exactly. The whole pursuit of human being is exactly, you only remove your ignorance. Knowledge is already there. No human being creates knowledge. We only remove, unravel.
But the unraveling depends on your karmic thing.
Unraveling depends upon your karmic certain inclinations as well as your own effort. Purushartha and Prarabdha, both, combination of both. Okay? Because you can come with certain abilities, but if you don't collapse those abilities, then you are wasting those talents. Right? So that means the potential is given, then you have to take the initiative and you need to unravel it. Okay? So therefore, this whole thing, as Pallavi says, the whole thing is already made. Nobody is making it. And in that making, there is amazing, any way that you see, it is just intelligence. So therefore, according to Vedanta or Gita, when you go, there is no distinction between what is the meaning of all this. Okay? There is no distinction between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. The whole universe is nothing but what? Knowledge, Ishvara. What is material and what is spiritual? Okay? You only remove your layers and layers and layers of ignorance. When you are looking and studying astrophysics, and when you are looking at the stars and the galaxies and the black holes and all of that, you are looking at Ishvara from the standpoint of what? The physical order. which has already put together all these galaxies. The knowledge of Ishvara, which has made black holes what they are. The knowledge of Ishvara, which has placed those galaxies where they are. The knowledge of Ishvara, which has made a solar system what it is.
So what we need to do is just wonder, wow.
And we just need to, the more you remove your ignorance, the more you are wow. Okay? And not only that, you can use your free will. All the discoveries that science has made our life so much better over 100 years. Okay? So that means you intelligently use the knowledge and apply it for your
Make better.
exactly. That also you do. Right? So this is how you are looking at the physical order. When you are looking at the plant kingdom, what you are accessing Ishvara, the intelligence, through what? How it exhibits through how the roots are formed, how the trunks are made, how the leaves take the energy from the sun. All this intelligent design, you are actually looking into Ishvara from the standpoint of how the plant kingdom works. And you give it a name what? Biology. Right? But if you understand Vedanta, you are partially, that all knowledge which is everywhere, you are looking at it from the standpoint of how the plant kingdom works. Then, if you are looking at your own mind and how it works, you are also looking into Ishvara's design in form of what we call psychology. If these are the causes, this is going to be the experience of a person. Cause and effect relationship. Have we created that cause and effect relationship? It's already there. Right? It's an insight into, it's all just intelligence. It's an insight into how this whole mechanism, which is mind, how it works. Okay? That is also manifestation of Ishvara. Okay? The Vedic culture is that it sees Ishvara, Om, as everything. Okay? This is why for us there is no distinction between material and spiritual, because all that is here is Ishvara, manifestation of Ishvara. And this is why what people say that we have many different gods is not true. Okay? What we have is different manifestation of the same intelligence. Okay? So therefore, right, that intelligence every human mind is capable of, but your intelligence and my intelligence will be very different. Okay? And you can have an aptitude in science and I could have in arts. So what type of intelligence we have, that also is very different.
That is also cause and effect.
That is also cause and effect. Right? So that particular cause and effect which makes your intelligence what it is and my intelligence what it is, we give it a name. What is the name? Goddess Saraswati. It's the same intelligence. Just as you have different names, physics, biology, psychology, based on which aspect of intelligence you are focusing on. Here, you are focusing on one aspect of that intelligence which gives you your little capacities, cognitive capacities which are different from mine. And that follow cause and effect relationship, so that laws, we give it a name, Goddess Saraswati. When all of us can have a potential of accumulating wealth, different forms of wealth, okay? Now who has what? Again is determined by what? Cause and effect. So that law of cause and effect which decides who has what wealth and what form of wealth is what we call what? Goddess Lakshmi.
We all have powers. But who has what power and in what magnitude and what type of power, that is decided by what? Durga. Okay? So that means the whole manifestation is concretizing. We all have difficulties in life. There is no human life which is without challenge. Okay? So the cause and effect relationship, which gives us our particular type of challenges, which are different from other people's challenges, there is a law. What do you call it? Ganesha. Vigna Raja and Vigna Harta. That person, the laws, exactly.
He causes the challenges.
Exactly. He causes the challenges because of the cause and effect relationship. The same principle you invoke, you use your free will and you pray to remove that. So using your free will, you are adding one more variable. Okay? So this is how the Vedic culture is. Everything, there are not many gods. Please understand, Hinduism or Vedic culture does not talk about many gods. It talks about all that is here is one Ishvara. There is no second thing in this universe.
These are labels to describe different aspects.
Exactly. These are different labels to describe different aspects. Right?
And all this while we've been laughing at our own religion.
Absolutely.
We keep on saying, that we make all the gods happy. Monday we go to Shiv. We tease our elders. We don't want to follow all that because we've never understood.
We never understand.
We always tease them. कि तुम लोग सब भगवान को खुश रखते हो.
Yeah.
All these various aspects are kinds of things of the same one God.
It's not one God. God is Sarvajnaha and Sarvashakti. Intelligence and capacity to manifest as the whole universe. So anything that you see in this universe is intelligently put together. So when you study physics, you are studying how intelligently all the stars are put together. So that intelligence which makes all these planets and stars what they are, you give it that particular discipline. You give it a name called physics, but it's a manifestation of the same intelligence. That intelligence not only puts the stars together, that intelligence also makes what? The plant kingdom what it is. The same intelligence makes what? Your psychology what it is. The same intelligence makes what? It decides how much intelligence you are going to have, how much wealth you are going to have, how many obstacles you are going to have. Right? It is the same, and that is running through cause and effect relationship. Right? So that means your understanding of God is what? It is pervading through everything. The entire physical world, Om is Ishvara. It is pervading through the entire physical world, the intelligence which makes your body what it is, my body what it is. It is the entire, it pervades the entire subtle universe, which makes your eyes what they are, the fish's eyes what they are, the snake's eye what they are. It's all just knowledge putting together, which neither you or me have done. And not some uncle sitting out there has done. That intelligence is everywhere, making everything what it is. And it is connecting the present with past causes and what? The present causes to future effects. Okay? This is Vedic vision of Ishvara. Okay? And this is why, if you are a Vedic person, you can go to worship, you can go to a tree and you can do this. Why?
Because Ishvara.
Because, yeah, exactly.
It's a manifestation.
Every form. You're not doing pranams to a trunk or a root. You are doing pranams to what? That intelligence which makes the root what it is. Okay? So this is what he says. Somebody today was telling me that if there is water in the well, and then you have to take it out. So you need to have what? A pump, and you need to make a lot of effort. He says the roots, you water the roots, and the effect of this is going to go where?
To the top of the tree.
To the top. Where is a pump? Do you see a pump? There is a whole design inside.
Conceived.
Sorry, conceived. Part of that programming.
Monday putting water to the idol is the same thing. Because Ishvara is anywhere there, everywhere.
Exactly.
Still, our veil depends on a level of ignorance. Right? So
Exactly.
it makes it easy, right? All these things till you reach that level.
Absolutely. In fact, no, even after you reach certain level, you understand that all that is here is Ishvara.
So you are not doing pranam to the physical thing, but you are doing pranam to the manifestation of Ishvara.
Exactly. So that is what you understand. Because generally, see, what is spirituality? Spirituality is being alive to what is. If there is a presence which is intelligence, which is everywhere, and if I have no understanding of that presence, can you call me an objective person? No. Because you are missing out one of the most fundamental presence from your understanding.
Come again.
If Ishvara, the intelligence which makes the planets what they are, my body what it is, the plants what they are, and it's all pervading and it is there, and if I have no understanding of it, then how far removed I am from reality. Because something which is there, I don't see it. Okay? So that means objectivity means what? If there is a presence, can I afford to miss that presence? It is the most basic, the most fundamental presence. And if I live my life not knowing that presence, then what kind of life is this? Totally ignorance. So here what it says, at the time of your death, right, if you're alive to that presence which is almost there, imagine what? You have made use of your life to come to know certain realities. If you live your life not knowing, continuing not to know that presence, or to know it partially. Know it partially means what?
Again, you have to redo it.
You think that Ishvara is in some higher force. We love vagueness. Right? We don't like
The
to.
problem is that many people look at God as separate from the universe.
Absolutely.
It's not separate, it's the same thing.
Exactly. Right? So imagine that means you are constructing your own concept of Ishvara, right? And you are accepting or rejecting your own concept of Ishvara.
Correct.
True.
It's like
So you are living in your own world,
Not in the real world.
not in the real world.
it's like in common parlance we think that Ishvara is sitting somewhere and he has created everything and he is managing everything.
Exactly.
So what we have to do is we keep on asking for favors under
Absolutely.
different forms. Yeah.
So that means that Ishvara, which is everywhere and everything, as Professor Kulkarni very rightly says, right? It's the whole thing is nothing but Ishvara. Om means the entire physical universe, entire subtle universe, and entire puzzle is one intelligence. Okay? And if I think there is, if from my understanding, first of all, there is no intelligence, or I think that it is what? One entity somewhere away from me. This is what? Erroneous understanding. Okay? Or I have some vagueness or some higher force, which is not at all known to me how, where, what, nothing. Okay? So that means either I am totally unaware of it, or I'm partially aware of it, or I have wrong ideas about it. And if I live my life with these erroneous ideas, then can you call that person somebody who knows? The person is what? Blindly living, because one of the most fundamental realities is missed out in life. Okay? So therefore, here we are not talking about repeating whether the person is saying om, 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 om. Then this is how we make every idea such simplistic idea. And it says, oh, while leaving the body, if you are just saying om, that's enough. That's not enough. What is meant is whether
He's
know-
realized.
Yeah, exactly. The person has figured it out or not. Right? Whether the person has removed one's ignorance about that very fundamental presence, which is all pervading.
But if you many people do chanting.
Yeah.
So even if you don't understand the deep meaning, like what you explained,
Yeah.
or whatever is beyond this also, and you keep chanting, does it help?
Little bit. I mean, it does have some effect, but nothing much. See, the thing is, for example, in anything, I say E is equal to mc square. What is my knowledge? Very basic, right? And as somebody who has done PhD in physics and says E is equal to mc square, what is his or her knowledge?
Yeah.
Much more, right? So it seems as though we are saying the same thing, but in terms of understanding, there is what? Huge
There's a lot of
difference.
research and
Exactly. So much time spent, so much research, so much understanding of what exactly it means and how and all that, right? So this similarly, I can just say Om is Ishvara and keep chanting Om, or I can understand that Om represents what?
Can I put it slightly differently?
Yeah.
What you are saying is
Yes.
Dhyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga.
In fact, what is Bhakti Yoga? What is Bhakti?
Bhakti Yoga is chanting or
Shraddha.
This is our understanding. This is not what Gita says. This is where everything we impute meanings to Gita which doesn't exist. Okay? Now
no,
we will
I
see
just
chapter
give
12.
what we say is Kabir or Tukaram. We say they are Bhakti, people of the Bhakti Yoga.
but they are surrendered, no, to the.
So what is the difference? That's what I want. Or
Fact.
is it not necessary now? You can go ahead.
Okay. Basically, Bhakti, what does Bhakti mean? Okay? Bhakti, we will see chapter 12, we will see. There is a big chapter because the whole 12th chapter is called Bhakti Yoga. Okay? What is important to recognize is in that chapter also, okay? Bhakti is what you're relating to Ishvara is called Bhakti. Okay? So, the only form of devotion that we have is what? When do you think you are relating to Ishvara?
You pray and
Exactly. So that means you think that you are relating to Ishvara when you pray. You think you are relating to Ishvara when you are singing a song, bhajan.
bhajans.
Okay? Or when you go to a temple. This is the time that you think you are relating to Ishvara. In all other times, what are you doing?
We are relating,
But they're not aware.
but we are
Exactly.
not consciously.
That is actually
And-
limiting. This is
Exactly.
opening.
Not consciously.
Exactly. You understand?
Yes.
Right? Wonderful, Kirti.
That's what you're
So
saying.
that means you have restricted your relating to Ishvara in such a limited way because Ishvara, which is all pervasive, you have given a given form and you think only this is relating to Ishvara.
Actually, if you
Then-
look at Kabir or Tukaram, they were living their life entirely, whether they were praying or not praying, they were conscious.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even
Right?
Sufism, they
Yeah.
see God in everything.
Everything.
Absolutely.
And they embrace everything.
Absolutely.
It's
So that
basically
means
Sufi.
that means that I have to extend the meaning of bhakti. Bhakti means relating to Ishvara. I have such a restricted, what Kirti is saying is absolutely right. I have such a restricted meaning of what relationship to Ishvara is, because I have such a vague idea about what Ishvara is.
Yeah.
Yes.
The minute you understand the real nature of Ishvara, your relating to Ishvara becomes so much more broad spectrum, because it includes everything. When I am talking to you and when I am following dharma, I am in touch with Ishvara. I am a bhakta to Ishvara because I respect laws of dharma. When difficult situations come and I am able to not blame myself and blame others and conclude that life is unfair, and understand that there are cause and effect relationships which are never failing, I am relating to Ishvara. When I am dealing with a difficult person, and instead of labeling the person, if I can understand the laws of cause and effect which makes that person what that person is, I am in touch with Ishvara. You have to, a bhakta, a real bhakta is the one who understands Ishvara accurately and has relationship, has not restricted those relationships to mean something so simple, but has expanded it in keeping with what Ishvara is. Every jnani is a bhakta. Every person who has
And the
removed
opposite
the
also.
veil.
Every bhakti is also a jnana.
Exactly. Every bhakta is a jnani if that bhakta understands the
Yeah.
nature of Ishvara. And every jnani is a bhakta because that jnani who has removed the veils of ignorance is constantly in touch with Ishvara. Not only when you're in temple or singing bhajans. The awareness of Ishvara is in everything. In fact, we do a meditation. Initially, we say, try to bring in the understanding of Ishvara in your day-to-day living by seeing the laws of cause and effect, which are manifesting in many, many different events of your life. Later on, we say that do a meditation where you can challenge yourself and say, let me look at the world in any given way, and let me find one instance when I'm outside Ishvara. Find one place, one time when you're outside Ishvara. You need to expand your understanding of what is a bhakta. Bhakta is somebody who relates to Ishvara. And you can only relate what? To what you know. Even in a two human being relationship, your ability to relate well depends upon how well you know the other person. So if you want to relate to Ishvara properly, you need to know what is Ishvara, not with your own idea of Ishvara. Okay? A bhakta, every jnani is a bhakta. This whole dichotomy that we have created, and this is why Adi Shankaracharya, who is the biggest proponent of Advaita Vedanta, he has written some beautiful things on the Lord. It is not against that. Okay? Because you have negated, restricted understanding or vague understanding of Ishvara, and you have come to know the real nature of Ishvara. And if you know the real nature of Ishvara, you understand you are never away from Ishvara.
That is where karma yoga also comes.
That is also karma yoga.
Because when you are doing your action, you must be conscious of what you are doing.
Excellent. Excellent. You must be aware of Ishvara in form of law of dharma. And when results come, you need to be aware of Ishvara in form of laws of dharma. Absolutely. So that means whether you are doing your karma or you are relating to Ishvara, or you are understanding the nature of Ishvara, the whole thing is all just one. Okay? So this is the person who has lived one's life like that. He says, Sa Yati Paramam Gati. That person gains what? Paramam Gati. Paramam Gati is the highest Gati. Highest Gati is what? According to
Last 3 words.
according to the Vedic vision, the highest goal of human life is not heaven. Okay? It is moksha. Okay? Because heaven is just one little place where you go to, okay? And from where you come back. Okay? It is your good actions which bring you to a conducive place. It's like vacation going. You earn some money, good points, and you go and you spend it. It's exactly like that. The human goal, according to the Vedic vision, which is different from every other society, every other culture, and that is moksha. Moksha is personal freedom based on knowing the reality.